see?
No.
Okay, so single stream is a collection method. All the recyclables are in one container, and then they're sorted through the technology here, as opposed to separate bins where you have, paper and containers, and then it's separated at the curb. But it's actually separated. All the recyclables are separated here. Now that's separate from your trash. Your trash is actually taken to a different facility. So even though when I say everything is put into one collection cart, I just want to make sure distinguish that between recyclable and trash. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so everything comes to the tip floor here, and then this is single stream, so everything's mixed together. So our goal at this facility is to separate everything and have it in bales and ready to be shipped off to be made into new products. Okay, so there's your payloader that pushes everything over to the conveyor belt. And then it goes up the conveyor belt. And then the first place that it goes to is what we call an OCC separator.
Wow.
Okay, OCC stands for Old Corrugated.
Old corrugated
Old-
cardboard.
Old I'm like, what's that other C? Old corrugated cardboard. So what happens is everything, let me just show here, and it makes a little more sense. Everything came up this conveyor belt, so this was the tip floor, came up this conveyor belt, and then it comes to these people. And so their job is to take things out that don't belong. So it's a negative sort rather than a positive sort, and they're taking out things. One of the number one mistakes that people make are the plastic bags. And you can see some of the problems associated with the sorting is that the plastic bags get stuck on the sorting discs over here.
So when people put out recyclables, they shouldn't put plastic bags out there?
Exactly. They should bring them to the grocery store. They can still recycle them, but they should bring them to the grocery store. So here...
Or you can find lots of other reuses for them. If
Right.
If you have a dog. Oh, yeah.
Right. So, so they're pulling out things that don't belong. That's just one example, is the plastic bags. And then they're allowing everything else to come through, and the cardboard kind of surfs on top, and then there's spaces in between, and the other items fall in between the spaces, and then they go to different conveyor belts. Okay, so then that initiates the sorting process. And then the paper is further sorted. This is where we started. That's where the OCC separator is. Then it comes around and it goes through two more different sorting processes. So all these people are doing is they are pulling out, they're still pulling out things that don't belong. So you get over here too. Now the corrugated cardboard has already gone to one staging area and is going to be baled. This is the rest of the mixed paper, and that includes newspaper, junk mail, any kind of white paper, office paper, could be box board, which includes your cereal boxes. Did I miss anything?
That pretty much covers
Yeah.
it. Magazines and catalogs.
Magazines, catalogs, so that's
and
all.
that kind of material.
Yeah, and that's all bundled together. And then I just want to show you what the product looks like. Okay, so this is before it goes to the paper bale. So this is, you can see that it's a pretty clean product that's going to the mixed paper bale. And then once it leaves this area, then it's going to go to the baler, which is, this might be the container, so I'm going to just turn it a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like.
Yeah. So one side is the containers, and then the other side, don't get dizzy, is the paper. So, and you have, these are paper bales. Sometimes they're lined up all the way here. So, and we consider them commodities, because what's going to happen is those will be sold, and then there's a revenue stream from the sale of the bales. And then each bale is about a ton. So, and you can see how it's pushing it out. And that came from the place that I showed you previously, where it was all sorted.
Question for you on the
Yeah.
the quality of the bale, right, the material, how clean it is, et cetera, is it priced different? You know, like if let's say your facility is very, very clean and very picky about what goes in there versus others?
Yes, it is. It's
Okay.
priced, well, what we have is, we have criteria or delivery standards.
Okay.
And so where it's sold, they have certain criteria. So the paper bale has to have a certain percentage of non-contaminants.
Yeah.
So then, based on that, is what the price is negotiated at. I mean, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
You know, depending on the buyer and the facility, there'll be different standards of content and contamination, and obviously the cleaner the product, as you said, the higher the price. We ship out a very clean product. We get a good price for it as a result. And I think the thing that we're most proud of is that in 20 years, we've never had a load rejected for contamination. So, and you know, the company that operates this plant for us, Recommunity, they pay very close attention to quality control. They're very picky, and that's why we get the best prices for our materials. Well, that's what. Wait, I should back up. That's one reason we get the best prices for our materials. The other reason is that the people who send their recyclables to us, they're very well educated about what can and can't be recycled. A few years ago, there was a plant up in Massachusetts that was undergoing some renovations. And so to keep their recyclables flowing, they sent some of them here for processing. Our plant manager told me he could tell the difference between the Massachusetts and the Connecticut recyclables just by looking at them, because the Massachusetts recyclables were a lot dirtier. So that's, you know, and where that all starts is with Sartoria and the educators, because people know how to do it.
But, you know, in answer to your question, absolutely the price is contingent on the quality of the bale. So, you know, you may have some, and all the Recommunity that runs the plant here has facilities all over the country. So they're able to acquire a better price because they're able to sell in larger quantities. So that's, you know, that's the other equation.
So who buys the bales?
This one here, the paper bale is sold to a mill in Canada, and then it's made into different paper products.
Okay.
And I'm not sure about the corrugated, where that's sold. Okay, so after the paper is sorted, then we go to the container side. So we go over, and that's sorted differently, because you have different types of, okay. So you have different types of material. So one way is the steel cans, which are your coffee cans, your soup cans. They're sorted by a magnet. So in the educational process, I mean, we show how everything is sorted, but we can also say, well, why is the steel sorted with a magnet? It has iron in it. And so it's an educational objective as well as to see the technology and the engineering associated with this. So depending on the grade level that comes. So that's a belt that goes around and it pulls up the steel and then it brings it to another area over here to be baled. And then you have your eddy current, which is for your aluminum cans, and you can see how the electricity or the electrical current sorts the
eddy current repels aluminum.
Oh.
So with the current flowing under the conveyor, when the aluminum is repelled, you can see the cans popping off the belt.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens. It repels the cans and they just jump off all by themselves.
So you have your magnet attracting, and then you have your electricity repelling. So it's, and then we have plastics. We take plastics 1 through 7. Used to be where facilities would only take 1s and 2s,
Yeah.
which were your milk jugs and your water bottles and soda bottles. You can bring them back for your nickel, or you can put them in your recycle bin, whatever is convenient for you. But now we take 1 through 7s plus aseptic packaging, which is like your juice boxes or your milk cartons. So this is the only area in the facility where you have a positive sort. They're actually, the people here are sorting out all the plastics. So they're sorting the number 2 plastics into milk jugs and colored plastics. Then they're sorting the 3 through 7s. And then they also sort the aseptic. So they put them in different bins, in different hoppers. And then what's left is your number 1 plastic, which is your water bottles and your soda bottles. And then those are sorted by an optic sorter. Reads the density of the material, so the property of the material, and you code it. This can be used for any type of material. But since plastic number 1 is you have the most of, they have it coded that way so that it can be sorted. And then there's a computer, it's computer generated, and there's an air jet that actually shoots it up, puts it through a chute, pushes it through a chute, and then into a hopper, the plastic. Now, if someone leaves caps on, or if there's a lot of fluid in the number 1 plastic, then they have a quality control. This is, oops, wrong way. Okay. So the quality control people down here are further sorting items that are either rejected or didn't go through the technology correctly, or something happened where they had a backup. So, so they try to sort all the materials that that come through the facility. They're what's it called? And I can't remember the residue rate.
Yeah.
The residue rate, what's left over that is strictly trash, I believe, is what, 7-8%, and that's lower.
Last time I heard Ron
6?
talk about it was like 6.
Okay, so it's lower, 6%, and most facilities around the country are 12% to 15%. So they really spend a lot of time trying to use the best technology and the sorting methods.
But again, we've also got well-educated populace.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I think that's all the sorting. The only other thing is glass, and I'm just going to show you where I think so you have 2 conveyor belts. One has a glass going up, and then it just falls into a hopper. This is your plastic that feeds the plastic sorters. Okay, so the glass is just all mixed together.
Mhm.
Now, as far as the different plastics, you mentioned like 3s to 7s all go in a bin. Are those okay just to be combined and sold as
Yeah.
a bale like that?
We sell them as a mixed plastic product.
Okay.
Yeah, they make pallets.
lumber.
Yeah, or plastic lumber out
Okay.
of those, the mixed.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But the markets for the number 2 plastic are still very high, so they want those separated into the milk jugs and then the colored plastics.
And same with number 1s.
Correct, right.
And you also mentioned about the caps being on versus
Mhm.
off. Is it preferable not to have caps on?
Correct,
Okay.
right. It's better not to have the caps, and then also to empty the containers so that the optic sorter is maximized. The other thing, though, is, just to kind of confuse the issue a little bit, you have your margarine tubs, your number 5 plastics, like your yogurt. Those lids are fine, because those are, I think, the same type of plastic as the bottom container. So that works okay with melting it down.
So like for the other caps, like water bottles, the caps are actually a different plastic
Correct.
than the others, so
And
they
they-
shouldn't be mixed.
Exactly, they should be
Okay.
thrown away in your milk jugs.
You just throw the caps away?
Mm-hmm, throw them away.
Are there any other tips that you would like to get out to the public about what they should be recycling, what they shouldn't be recycling, what jams up the machines? Anything else you want to say about it?
Just a couple of new things that were taken. We also take phone books now, which I think was a huge problem for people. I mean, most people now use the computer to look up numbers, but they're still getting a lot of phone books at their homes. So those can be recycled. Large rigid plastics are things such as old toys. If they're broken, you can't reuse them, and you need to recycle them. You can, if they can fit in your cart, you can put them in there. And I think that would be, those are the newer items that we can recycle. Is there anything else that we can?
Well, let's see. You don't put clothing or
Yeah.
textiles.
Oh.
There are a lot of things that can be recycled that don't go in the curbside bin. Clothing is a big one. Electronics is a big one.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Pots and pans is a big one. Still, I think the biggest boo-boo for us is plastic bags, because they can, we can pull out a pot or a pan because it's pretty obvious that it's there. Plastic bags are insidious, and once they get tangled in the machinery, there have been times where we've had to shut down the plant for a half a day to be able to have mechanics go in, and they have to use their hands to clear a jam like that. There's lots of other things you can do with the plastic bags, dry cleaning bags, garbage bags, things like that. Any of them is preferable to putting it in your curbside bin.
Oh, good information.
Yeah, and usually the grocery stores will allow you to even put cleaner bags and bags that you might get from department stores. They allow you to put those also in the bins, including the grocery bags. A lot of grocery stores will take them.
Yeah, they'll have a collection box near the door, and they'll take any kind of film plastic. And all that film plastic can be baled and sold separately, but it's got to be a homogeneous product.
Good information.
Now, does all of Connecticut waste and recycling end up here?
No.
Or multiple
No,
plants?
there's different plants around Connecticut to accommodate different areas of Connecticut.
I think there's
So,
five
different
and 4 others,
single-stream
including this one.
facilities.
Interesting.
Materials, whether it's here or somewhere else.
Yeah.
But if recyclables are brought here by municipalities or by haulers, they don't pay a tip fee, which is associated with trash. But when they bring the trash down to the trash to energy plant, they do pay a tip fee per ton. So it's to a city's or municipality's advantage to recycle more because they're going to pay less money for their trash, for the tip fee.
And the haulers make their money. They provide a service, whether you have a subscription service where you pay the hauler directly, whether your town pays the hauler, whether your town has its own fleet of trucks. Those are bundled services under state law. So if you pay a trash hauler, that trash hauler is going to be providing you your recycling collection as well.
Yeah, we used to have a small bin like that, and
Right.
actually, now our
We have a
recycle
cart.
bin is as big as the trash, which is great, because that's the one that...
Okay, there are a lot of items that can be recycled, but that don't go in the curbside recycling bin. There are separate recycling systems that are in place. Batteries and electronics are one thing. Clothing is another. Textiles. There are recycling systems for, of course, bottles and cans, plastic bags, plastic film. Those things can be recycled, but they have to be brought to a collection point, which is generally at your supermarket, or maybe your dry cleaner will have a box by the entrance to the store to collect those things. And they can be actually baled and sold separately into the recycling market, provided it's a homogeneous product. So the film plastics all go together. So there are a lot of things. Light bulbs is another one. There are some retailers now that have take-back programs for compact fluorescent lights and other types of fluorescent tubes. It varies from store to store and from product to product, but there are other systems in place. So there are a lot more things that can be recycled that just don't go in the recycling bin.
Technology, and it's important for people of all ages to see how things are sorted.
Yeah.
And the importance.
So now what happens with this? Somebody buys it and they totally melt it down?
Yeah, these are made into pellets, and then the pellets are used, they're stretched, and then they're made into thread, because this is more of a, the number one plastic can be made into fiber and textiles.
So this
Oh.
carpet, for example, if you take a good look at your fleece vest,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see it's really a bunch of non-woven fibers.
Oh.
And that's just melted plastic. It's stretched really thin.
Wow. Have you seen that process?
I haven't seen it, but we have pellets, we have the thread,
Oh, yeah?
we have the different, so we can show
Okay.
the process of that. But I know they're transported by pellets once it's melted down. They're protruded, they go through a protrusion,
Mm-hmm.
like a little, and they're little.
Extrusion?
Little extrusion, yeah, thank you.
12 bales of plastic.
Mhm.
And there are, the manufacturers will take care of the subsequent steps. We just give them the raw material.
Yep.
And do any of the manufacturers, and you may or may not know, in terms of need to separate it based on color, depending on what they're doing? Like the green plastic versus the clear?
Yeah, the number one plastic, no. It can be, yeah, so we just combine it and put it in a bale. But the number two plastic, yes. These are just mock bales, I mean, yeah, so, but the number two plastic,
We'll separate
We'll separate it.
the natural from the pigmented.
Right.
Okay.
yeah.
So when we bring you back to see the bales, you'll see these big gray bales of number two plastic, which is natural. And then the other bales of number two will be incredibly colorful because that's all the laundry detergent jugs and things like that,
Mhm.
where the manufacturer of the product needs that color on the store shelf to sell his product.
Right.
Are there some things that we're not recycling now that you think we'll be recycling in the future?
Organics,
Yeah, like,
food
Yeah.
scraps.
yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that would be the up and coming,
It's
So
coming.
what would
It's
we-
gonna be, in 5 years, I guarantee there'll be
yeah.
some kind of program.
There should be, because so many, I mean, you think single stream, so many people were so opposed to it when it was initially started.
Really?
They go, how can you mix everything, it's gonna be a dirty product, and I think that it probably, once people saw how well it worked, it was implemented within, what, a couple of years, maybe 2-3 years.
Yeah, we started it,
Throughout
and,
Connecticut.
we convinced some of the skeptics that it was worth doing. The thing about organics is that 14% of all the garbage that is going into the trash-to-energy plant is food scraps.
Mm.
And they don't burn very well because they have a high moisture content, but they can be doing things other than just being burned. They can and should be composted, where you can not only recover energy value because the decomposition process throws off methane as a natural byproduct, but you're also left with compost, which can be used as a soil amendment, and so you're actually adding nutrients back into soil. You're adding it's a medium for increasing the water retention of soil, so you have less erosion. It is
And less you don't have to use
you don't need
chemical
fertilizer because it
fertilizers.
feeds
Right.
your plants better than anything.
So you don't have the runoff,
Mm.
into your water supply.
And it increases the aeration in the soil. So between the increased nutrients, the increased water, and the increased air, plants grow better
Mhm.
in it.
Mhm.
Now we're looking actually at getting a composter at our house just to kind of do that. But if you do it more on a global scale, right? What will your products be and who will you sell it to?
Depends on the process, and but generally speaking, those are the byproducts. Some type of compost. Now there are different grades depending on the feedstock that goes into the soup. So that'll give you the balance of phosphorus and nitrogen and the other nutrients
Carbon.
that are in the soil. But generally the byproducts are some type of compost and some type of gas that'll be rich in methane. There are some processes where they actually separate the methane from the carbon dioxide, which is the other gas that's being produced. And they can actually harness a pipeline quality natural gas from compost. Or sometimes the gas can just be combusted to generate electricity. In fact, at the Hartford landfill, we have a gas collection system where we capture just that gas. It's a mixture of carbon dioxide and methane, but there's enough methane in what we're collecting to spin a turbine. And it's actually generating enough electricity to power 750,000 homes.
Wow.
750 to 1,000 homes. I don't want
Okay,
to sound like,
okay.
We're powering the whole state off that one little
Yeah,
landfill,
and
but
it's from the decomposition process.
Wow.
So methane is a byproduct of that. Right. So,
Cool.
But I just want to go back to the single stream, when we were talking about single stream. One of the problems before single stream is that the haulers had trucks that were separated into paper and containers. And customarily, the paper would fill up faster than the than the containers. So they would come to the plant with maybe 3/4 of a filled up truck, which, you know, for transportation and the gas prices, really wasn't the most feasible way of transporting the materials. So with single stream, that actually solved one of the problems where everything was combined, so they were able to fill up their trucks. It was less trips and more feasible, and, you know, not as much gas, although the gas prices went up, or the diesel prices.
Yeah.
But, you know, that was one of, I don't know if it was one of the things that precipitated single stream, but it was definitely a problem solved when that came into existence.
In
That's
fact,
good.
it actually solved two problems because the haulers could then go to the automated collection.
Right.
One of the toughest jobs that there is in this country is driving a dual stream recycling truck, because you drive the truck 10 yards, you get out of the truck, you bend over, you pick up the bin filled with containers, you dump it into one section of your truck, you put that one down, you bend over, you pick up the paper and the cardboard, you throw that into another part of your truck, and you're doing that 300, 400, 500 times a day. So workers' comp was a problem, workplace injuries were a problem, because, you know, the human back can only take so much. And so being able to go to automated collection solved two problems. The collection routes became much more efficient, because now you're not doing as much idling. It takes less time to have the one-armed bandit on the side of the truck dump one container into the back of the truck. But you don't have you don't have the same risk to your employees, because they're not doing all that bending and picking up. So it was a very easy sell to the haulers, because they knew right away that their cost of business were going to go down.
Bottom, and the smaller plastic pieces fall through. And then as it goes through another set of screens, they get narrower. So less quality. And then when you get to the final end, it's mostly paper going up.
If you take a close look, you'll see Budweiser, Bud Light, there's Coke, there's Pepsi. These are all deposit cans people can collect a nickel for, but they'd rather just put them in their curbside bin and recycle them that way. When the bottle bill was introduced, it was mainly to control litter. It wasn't intended to be a recycling system. We've got a great recycling system in Connecticut now, and people, as you can see here, prefer to put things in their bin rather than go back to collect the nickel. And as the state gets into other types of recycling systems, one thing they got to keep in mind is convenience. Because if a system isn't convenient, it doesn't do anybody any good. And we think we've got a better, more convenient system, and people seem to agree because they're voting with their feet, or their bins, as the case may be.
So, if they were to be returned to the grocery store, they would come through the same process.
It would be the same process, it'd be a different handler. The deposit system is like a parallel universe of recycling. The bottlers and distributors have their own systems for processing the stuff.
You probably got a couple more bales of this. Will probably go out Monday. This type of material, it takes a lot to make a bale, so it probably goes out once a month. Same thing with the acceptors. We go out maybe every other month. With one, it takes so much of it to make a bale. It takes that long for it to come in. You take a piece of paper and you tear it this in half. You can see all the hairs that come up.
Yep,
That's fiber.
yep.
That's all they want. They don't want all this ink, or like I said, any heavy foils, or any gloss that makes it shiny. So now the paper mills have to have a system designed to remove all of that. And some of the older mills that that shut down, they weren't set up for that. So
That's why things like greeting cards are a problem. Certain types of wrapping paper. If they come up with the wrapping presents in them.
Yeah.
yeah, it's just over.
So this will just get resold.
Manage trash way before recycling and landfills and trash to energy. So what it shows, we use it as an educational tool, and it shows different things that we could recycle, things that we could reuse, things that are truly trash. So we use it to kind of depict what an old-fashioned dump would have had maybe 20 years ago. An artistic rendition. United States. And we generate 250 million tons of trash before recycling every year. And in Connecticut, it's 4 million tons. They'll find things that, oh, I remember this from a long time ago. Some people have compared this to their garages and their basements. But, there's a lot of different things in here. If we have elementary school children, we joke with them and ask them if they know what a typewriter is, if they know what a turntable is, a rotary dial phone. I mean,
Yep.
there's a lot of things that we grew up, or I grew up with, that the kids they're not even aware of.
Right.
Reuse, what things could be recycled. You say, well, look how much trash is generated after that is substantially less.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a fun way to show people how to reduce their trash.
Okay, do you mind saying that again?
Yep. This is a Trash Through Time mural, and it shows the history of trash. And it was developed or created actually by an artist called Ted Esselstyn, and he is from Higganum, Connecticut. And it also gives facts, different trash facts.
Very nice. I love that.
We like to bring in the history.
Yes.
And then created this mural as well, but Dave Comites, who we call Sustainable Dave, is a videographer he is originally from Connecticut. He lived in California, then he moved back to Connecticut. And so for 1 year, he decided to make the least amount of trash that he could possibly make. So as you saw on the digital sign, each person makes about 2,000 pounds of trash each year in Connecticut. He made 28.5 pounds of trash. So he called us up and he said, what do you want me to do with this trash? Can I donate it to you? And we were all excited. I mean, other people might think weird, but we were excited to have his trash to kind of show different people how one person could substantially reduce the amount of trash. Now, even though this might be extreme, for one individual, there's still points in here that show, well, what can I do to reduce the amount of trash? So he had a Sustainable Dave backpack where he brought reusable items to restaurants, so he never took a to-go container. He used to go to get his coffee every morning, then he brought his reusable mug so that he reduced the amount of trash. So he took all his trash, he put it in the basement, and then he kind of looked at it and said, well, what are ways that I can reduce it? So he composted, he recycled, and then he thought of ways of reusing items rather than making trash. So we put
That's
it
great.
on display here.
Yes, that's what we're trying to get people to do.
Yeah. Okay, these are some reusable sculptures, and they show different landmarks in Hartford, and they were created by Curtis Thrall, and he used reusable and recyclable items to create this beautiful masterpiece.
There.
Wow, that is like amazing.
His sculptures, and it's the old State House in Hartford. Wow.
What did he use? Do you know, just various things?
Yeah, he used cardboard, a lot of cardboard. Commodities and your containers and your paper, we also promote or encourage organic recycling. And right now, we don't have the infrastructure set up in Connecticut where it's transported from your house to a facility, but people can compost at home in their backyard or in their basements with vermicomposting. So we actually have a vermicomposter here, which means that we have red wigglers in there that will eat the organic waste and make compost.
Okay.
So I don't know if you'd like to see.
Sure. Sounds interesting.
I'll pull some out for you. There is the.
Are they just worms or?
Yeah, they're worms. They're red wigglers. They're different types of worms, though. Let me get a.
Big fat one.
Well, they're not. They're kind of small.
Small little.
Yeah, here they are, right here. So worms go to the bottom because they don't like the light. And so what we do is we feed them vegetable scraps, coffee grinds, or paper, and it has to be moist because they breathe through their skin. And then they make and create and generate their compost. And then the compost, we clean it out every 6 months. It can be used as compost tea. You can mix it with water and use it to water plants, or you can mix it with soil, and it can be a soil amendment or enhancer.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So wait a minute.
Not the worms. Well, you could use the worms too.
So everything they don't eat in this bucket is compost? Is that what you're saying? Or?
Yeah, I mean, if in layman's term, they poop out compost.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't know how else to say
Cycle
it.
of life.
Yeah, it's a cycle of life. Here it is right here. That's
Oh,
compost.
okay. So you dig it out of there.
Mm-hmm. And we separate the worms from the compost, and then it's able to be used.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so every 6 months. Otherwise, what ends up happening is they will eventually die because they can't live in that environment with the compost because they're eating their own
Yep.
Compost.
compost. Thank you.
Sorry to make you go into such detail. She's probably saying this people should be doing at home for composting. Put those worms in there.
They can,
Yeah.
or they can set up this. They like 60 to 70 degrees temperature, don't we all? But
Yeah.
they don't like the harsh winters or the hot summers. And this would probably be a bin that would be kept indoors. And you could put your food scraps in there. No meat, no oil scraps. It has to be. They're vegetarians. So, and then you would have to keep it moist. So you could definitely do this inside, but if you're going to have a compost bin outside, then you could put your leaves and your grass clippings in a, you can have a composter, or you can just put it in a pile in your backyard, or if you have woods, and then if you turn them, they'll eventually decompose and create compost.
Okay. Very good.
So it says here,
Oh.
which one can you use? This eggshells make and coffee grounds produce a rich, nourishing mulch for soil. So you can,
I didn't didn't know that.
And then the grass clippings and leaves, but your bones, your milk jugs and oils, they do not.